Okay, hi Professor Logan. So I did my paper on the MRTA group. This group was also known as the Tupac Amaru Revolutionary Movement. This was a very interesting group to study. So what I learned the most about this group is that they did not have too much time while they were active to commit too many terrorist attacks because they did fall short of leadership in the end. But their story of how they came together and how they formed their group was very interesting. So, here are some key points that I learned about the MRTA. So, first, the MRTA was brought up by two leaders that had very much experience in this field, as they were both brought up in their own terrorist groups because their parents were involved, so they were raised around this behavior and this mindset. So as they grew older, the only thing they really knew was to, create their own movement, and that's what they did. So they both came together and did that, and in doing so, one of the leaders fell short. Campos is the name. He was arrested almost immediately when the group began, so he wasn't too much involved in the actual action that was going on, but he is the key leader, one of the key leaders that did start this group initially. The other leader, Coraltini, he was more involved in the action, and he was the one that when he passed away, the group fell short of leadership, and that is when they did not recover or keep the group going, but he did lead the group most of the way, carried most of the weight. So that was very interesting. Another interesting key point to know is that when they did get involved in attacks or bombings or kidnappings and all of that, they were very fierce, and they went at everything full force, 110%, and everything they did, even though they did not get too much done, they did it well and they did it precise, and they got the job done that they wanted. So in the eyes of leaders, in the eyes of members, they did a good job and they were successful, which is what, they want. Another interesting thing is that the other group that was kind of like their big brother was known as the Shining Path, and the Shining Path was also amongst the same mindset that they had, and they shared a lot of similar attributes in the way that they, did everything from gathering their members to their tactics. So they bounced off one of one another's ideas, and they kind of were, big brother, little brother to each other, which was interesting to know. And once the MRTA was delisted in the late 80s, I believe that the Shining Path carried on from them, and they kind of just bounced off one another. When one would end, one would start, and so forth. It is also known that when they were not, bickering with each other or had each other as targets, they would help each other out. So that was very interesting. Another thing would be that they use the media a lot to get their job done, and they were not shy when it came to the media, and they definitely got their message across, whether that be to their enemies or to their fellow leaders, like government leaders, president, or anything like that, to get their leftist change across. And I don't know if I forgot to mention before, but that was their goal, Everything took place in Peru, and they fought for a leftist change, as did the Shining Path. Their biggest terrorist attack that they're still known for today is that they raided the Japanese ambassador's residence, which is a very tough thing to do, and they did it. That is when their first leader was killed. Sorry about that. Cordellini, he passed away, and that's what supported one of Cronin's 6 ways to end terrorism, which is decapitation. And in this case, as he was killed, that is what led this group to fall, and they just couldn't get back on their feet, which is very interesting to hear because as we learned about this in class, it was very interesting to put this into perspective and understand now, because it's one thing to hear about something, learn about something, but now I see where it is used and what he's saying. Sorry about that. Another thing is that studying this group is that I had never heard about terrorism in Peru before, but after studying this case, I now realize that there is truly terrorism everywhere, even when we believe that there is not terrorism in one part of the world. That's not true. There's truly terrorism everywhere. And as this terrorist group, the MRTA, was delisted in the late 80s, that is not too long ago. So it was very interesting to see that as we think terrorism, or at least I think when I think terrorism groups and terrorism activity, I think it's like so long ago in the past, and that's just not how things are today. That is not true. Terrorism is very well still active around the world, different groups. Just because my group that I chose to study is not active anymore, that does not mean that a lot of groups around the world are inactive as well. I now realize that terrorism is very, very much alive. That was very interesting to learn. So, yeah, thank you.